Hello there, Brick Fanatics! Do you like memes? Do you like Star Wars? Then if so, the LEGO Group has finally made the perfect LEGO set for you. French retailer Fnac has given us a first look at two of the upcoming long-anticipated, long-rumoured, long-awaited Rebuild the Galaxy LEGO sets, which do something slightly different with LEGO Star Wars. There's a 2-in-1 pack that contains an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter where the wings can be swapped, which is, fine, that's cool, fair enough. But the real draw here is the Dark Millennium Falcon, which has some of the weirdest minifigures that we have ever had from LEGO Star Wars, and that is saying something this year in particular. I feel like 2024 for LEGO Star Wars is the year of the really cool, weird, obscure minifigure bundled in a set that is just going through the motions. We've had Saw Gerrera, we've had Darth Malak, we've had Fives, we've had Cal Kestis, all hotly anticipated minifigures that fans are desperate for, but then bundled into sets which are another Sith Infiltrator, another brick-built R2-D2, another Star Destroyer, another hallway diorama that is basically just a battle pack in disguise. One has to assume that 75389 the Dark Falcon is going to be the pinnacle of this particular trend, because yeah, it's a slightly different Millennium Falcon, it's got a slightly different colour scheme, it feels just a little bit M-Tron, just a little bit, with like the dark greys and the blacks and the reds and a little bit, I don't know, maybe you see it, maybe you don't, but certainly it is ultimately just another Millennium Falcon in terms of the LEGO build, but then the minifigures that come with it are some of the coolest, weirdest, bizarre things that could possibly be included in a LEGO set. Let's get the boring ones out of the way first. Darth Rey is fine. I mean, she was going to show up in a LEGO set eventually anyway because she's just in the films. Probably would have turned up in a video before now had the film in question been a little bit better received, but the LEGO Group has somewhat shied away from sequel trilogy sets after the release of The Rise of Skywalker for good reason, because the film didn't end up exactly setting the world alight in a good way. It's a bit disappointing that her foldy-uppy double-connected lightsaber doesn't have its own element, it's just using a pair of binoculars, and I really feel like, given this set and given the Sith Infiltrator, this would have been an excellent year to have an actual double-sided lightsaber blade hilt element. Like, now was the moment, and it seems to have just passed the LEGO Group by. There's also Darth Dev, who is a nice inclusion because he reminds us that this set is based on a LEGO Star Wars cartoon for Disney+. It's an odd choice to have so many sets tied into a Disney+ LEGO Star Wars cartoon, simply because there are so many of these cartoons on Disney+ already that no matter how good this one might be, and it does look fairly decent, it's going to get buried in like 5 minutes. But anyway, this is a He-Man scenario. The cartoon really only exists as an advert to sell toys, and it does give the LEGO designers an opportunity to just kind of go nuts with the rest of the minifigures in the box. The big headliner here is Darth Jar Jar, or Darth Plagueis, depending on what side of the internet you come from. This one is a meme that has been around long enough for it to be turned into a LEGO set, so it is an older meme, sir, but it checks out. You probably don't need me to explain this to you, but just very quickly, a few years ago, somebody got the genius idea of trying to refashion or retcon the Star Wars prequel trilogy to make Jar Jar the big bad. Because, on the one hand, it makes up for the perceived injustice of Jar Jar's existence that some older curmudgeonly Star Wars fans might have. But on the other hand, it's just kind of funny to take the comic relief character and say, nah, actually, George Lucas said that he was the key to all of this. He's the big bad villain in disguise. Which is obvious nonsense, but just funny anyway. There you go, I have fully explained the joke and therefore ruined it. You are welcome, but in fairness, this is a meme that is so old at this point that your mum is sharing it on Facebook, so it's not like it's particularly fresh. That's not to take a dig at your mum, by the way. I love that she's sharing prequel memes on Facebook rather than weird conspiracy theories. Although, I guess this one kind of is a weird conspiracy theory. Anyway, once you've had a good look at Darth Jar Jar, your eye is going to be immediately pulled over to Jedi Vader, who is another popular meme that has been floating around for a couple of decades at this point among the Star Wars community. The image of a white Darth Vader in Star Wars fandom is one of those things that has far surpassed the source material that originally birthed it. From 2002 to 2004, Dark Horse Comics published a series of Infinities Star Wars stories, which were essentially what-ifs. Like from the other Disney Plus cartoon, What If? What if Luke Skywalker didn't blow up the Death Star? What if Luke Skywalker froze to death? What if C-3PO wasn't around to translate for Jabba the Hutt? Little tiny changes, but then they had big ramifications, one of which involved Yoda hijacking the Death Star and ploughing it into the Emperor's palace on Coruscant. Coruscant, which is about the most metal thing that's ever happened in any Star Wars story. Anyway, one of these stories, because of convoluted plot and different things that happened, involved Darth Vader surviving his final confrontation with the Emperor. So there is Darth Vader, purified, cleansed, somehow absolved of all of his sins, but not dead, and therefore actually in a position to try and make amends, because it's always been very convenient for Darth Vader to have that kind of deathbed repentance and be like, oh great, I'm a good guy now, anyway I'm dead so I can't deal with all the mess I've made. And this time around Darth Vader survives and so has to actually clean up his own mess. He does so in a white Darth Vader costume because of reasons. Like, he still sticks with the scary mask. He could have a slightly different design of a mask that makes him look less like a horrible monster, but no, he goes with the scary mask, just paints it white. And I guess maybe that's easier or cheaper for him than just get a can of spray paint and fix things, but mostly this is because the image is cool and people really like that. And so while the comic has been almost entirely forgotten, the image of a white Darth Vader has just stuck around and is always showing up in various different fan communities on the internet, people posting it, people rediscovering this amazing story, people kind of talking about, well, wouldn't it be cool if Darth Vader was still around after the destruction of the second Death Star? So we have here something which is, yeah, obscure comic. The comic was never going to be adapted into a Lego set, but with Rebuild the Galaxy, the Lego designers have the opportunity to just be a bit wild and free with the minifigures that they throw in here. So a good guy Darth Vader works very well with this premise, even if he's not necessarily an ideal inclusion in a set that is mostly made up of villains. Yeah, whatever, the pretense was always a bit flimsy. The point is, the Lego designers are giving us some minifigures that some fans are going to be very eager for, but only fans of a certain age and persuasion, like the kind of fans who make an oof noise when they sit down. Those are the fans that are going to remember this particular little wild piece of Star Wars canon. Non-canon. Beach Luke is an interesting inclusion, but the character is kind of nothing. Presumably he'll make a lot more sense once we've seen Rebuild the Galaxy, but the inclusion of a blue milk carton does just make me think of the blue milk Luke Skywalker polybag that came with the Skywalker saga when that game released, and ended up very quickly becoming a very sought-after piece of Star Wars merch. It's not a deliberate reference necessarily, it just makes me think of it. Bounty Hunter C-3PO is not a meme. I would not describe this as a meme at all, but it is an even more obscure comic reference than White Darth Vader. I'm not going to delve into the entire history of C-3PX in this video. You don't need to know, for example, that this droid was once owned by Darth Maul. All you really need to know is that once upon a time in a 1990s Star Wars Droids comic, C-3PO was mistaken for a bounty hunter called C-3PX, who was the same kind of protocol droid, but just evil and bounty hunterous. Hunterous? Is that a word? Fun fact, Shakespeare invented the word assassin, so yes, I'm going to say that this assassin droid is bounty hunterous. Am I comparing myself to Shakespeare? Yes. Yes, I am. I think if Shakespeare were around today, he would absolutely be making YouTube videos. Anyway, all of this means that we have a Lego set which is interesting in that it has a slightly funky colour scheme, but really interesting because of the minifigure lineup that comes with it. And as said, this is yet another set from Lego Star Wars in 2024 where the minifigures are significantly more interesting than what's going on with the build. And I don't think that this is necessarily the fault of any of the Lego designers. I don't think that anybody is sat there saying, let's make the most generic, bland Lego set possible and then throw in a really interesting minifigure so that people who've already got the last version of this particular Lego set will need to buy it again. What I think is going on here, and we've heard this from Lego designers, is that the word from higher-ups is there's always got to be an X-Wing, there's always got to be a Millennium Falcon. These are evergreen sets that just continue to sell over and over and over, and so they always have to be as part of the Lego catalogue. And for the Lego designers, this proves a challenge because, well, what are you really going to do to make this particular X-Wing, this particular Millennium Falcon stand out from all the ones that have come before? So we get Rebuild the Galaxy, which attempts to kind of shift things up, to kind of play with things. And so you've got an X-Wing that can have TIE Fighter wings or vice versa, so that the Lego designers are doing something a little bit different so that this set can be justified as something that is more than just more of the same. And you've got the Dark Falcon, which is, yeah, more of a departure than the X-Wing and TIE Fighter set, but still not like a huge huge radical departure. It's still recognisably the Millennium Falcon and will still fulfil that niche within the catalogue, but they've done it in such a way that they've been able to have a little bit more fun with it, they've been able to experiment a bit with it, and with the minifigures in particular, they're able to really just do some weird and wild stuff. Like, I get the sense, and this is pure speculation, absolutely not confirmed whatsoever, but I get the sense that the LEGO designers have been told, right, we've got to do these same sets again, and they've said, okay, well, if we're going to do these sets again, what weird minifigures can we throw in here? How can we make the minifigures different? Because we've got a little bit more flexibility there. And because, let's face it, a lot of LEGO Star Wars fans are really only in it for the minifigures half the time. Like, not everybody. Like, definitely there are lots of people who love the builds as well. But minifigure collecting is its own wild world in and of itself. And I think the LEGO designers know that, and they are trying to cater to the needs of fans and give them something different, even as otherwise they're just being tasked with doing the same thing that's been done before. This does unfortunately mean that a lot of these really cool minifigures are trapped in LEGO sets that fans wouldn't actually buy otherwise. If you look at the eBay or Bricklink prices for Darth Malak, you'll see that he's going for about the same price, not much less than the full set itself. People are taking out the Darth Malak from R2-D2 and just selling that minifigure, and some people are like, well, it's 20 quid cheaper than buying the whole set, and I don't really need another brick build R2-D2, so alright, fine, I'll do it. This is good news for scalpers, but it's not great for LEGO fans, it's not great for LEGO collectors, and it's not ideal for the LEGO group either. And it's kind of unfortunate, but if we're not going to be getting devoted, dedicated minifigures in like a series of collectible minifigures or something like that, because apparently the LEGO group just are not allowed to do that, they don't have the license, then how else are they able to give us some of these minifigures that otherwise would never be made? So it is what it is, and I get the sense that the Dark Falcon in years to come is going to be one of those niche collector's items. It's not necessarily going to be top of a lot of people's wish lists this Christmas, but at the same time, a lot of people are going to feel compelled to pick it up because of the included minifigures, and those minifigures are going to be very rare and very valuable once this set retires a few years down the line. I don't imagine this one's going to be quite as long-lived as some Millennium Falcons, just because of its very niche ties to a Rebuild the Galaxy cartoon that is going to disappear fairly quickly, but at the same time I can see it doing well simply because people feel pushed, compelled to buy this set purely for White Darth Vader, purely for Darth Jar Jar, purely for evil C-3PO. I don't know, does this grind your gears? It doesn't feel great. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure, by the way, that if you're going to be making a lego.com purchase in the near future, that you use the affiliate link, which is in the description, or the QR code that's currently on screen, because doing so just helps to support Brick Fanatics, doesn't cost you a penny extra, gives us just a little bit of a kickback when you make that purchase through the link. Make sure, by the way, that you do all of the regular YouTube things, because it does genuinely help the channel. Give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe and the notification bell so that you are the first to know when a new video is released. Make sure also that you go to brickfanatics.com for all of your LEGO news and reviews, and make sure that you sign up to our newsletter so that you never miss anything LEGO related ever again. Thank you very much for watching, and may the Force be with you.